Okay, hello everybody, it's Gray over at Wakazashi's Tea House in Japan on a Sunday morning, 11 a.m. here, and I'm joined by the Nerdporeal Lifeform, the master of Star Trek lore. Here he is. How are you doing today, Nerdporeal?
Doing great. Can't wait to talk about episode 15. Well, technically from the VHS, Court Martial.
Yes, that's right. We're talking court martial today. I just got it finished in time. I was watching bits and pieces of it. I'll tell you what, I really enjoyed it. And before we get started, Nerdporeal, you kindly sent me the preview, the episode preview. So let's play this now. Here we go. And I tell you, mate, as soon as you see these colours, I just love it. I love seeing a young William Shatner. Here we go.
Captain's log, stardate 2949.9. Due to an accident in space, I have been relieved of duty, awaiting the verdict of a general court-martial.
Computers don't lie.
Are you suggesting that I did?
There's still time to change our plea.
The man who killed my father.
That's not so. He was my friend.
You murderer!
Thinking of this service. I won't have it smeared
By what? Commodore Stone.
by an evident perjurer who is either covering up his bad judgment, his cowardice, or something
That's
even
as
worse.
far as you go.
You're about to lop off the captain's professional head, and you're sitting here playing chess with a computer. Mr. Spock, you're the most cold-blooded man I've ever known.
Why, thank you, Doctor.
You still haven't told me how you know so much about what the prosecution's going to do.
Because, Jim Kirk, my dear old love, I am the prosecution.
How excited is that, Nerdporeal? What a great preview.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. And I got right here the press release. Should I read the press release? The NBC press release?
Actually, just before you do that, let's just shout out. We've got some people watching. So Ohio says low spec Linux. Great to see you, mate. Dwayne Muthie's good evening from Buffalo. Thank you so much for joining us. We also have Nerdporeal Lifeform in the chat. Hey, what up, Dwayne? Low spec. So please do continue with that. Let's get the info on this episode.
All right. The first thing I see right here is there's a typo in the year. It says the press release is January of 1966. No, it's 1967.
Wow, look at this knowledge, folks.
So this is what it says. Captain Kirk is charged with negligence and brought to trial following the disappearance and reported death of one of his officers in court-martial, the NBC television network colorcast of Star Trek on February 2nd, 1967. Investigation into the presumed death of Officer Finney, who was lost during a hazardous assignment aboard the Enterprise, discloses evidence that Captain Kirk may have perjured himself in his testimony regarding the incident. Kirk's case appears hopeless until a little-known fact in Finney's past is inadvertently revealed by his daughter. The captain's accuser, the Enterprise's own computer, which offers the damning visual evidence needed to convict Kirk. His primary advisory, Ariel Shaw, the prosecutor at the court-martial hearing and a former love. She offers further evidence to show that the late Ben Finney had a grudge against Kirk, which may prove motivation for the captain wanting Finney off the ship. Kirk's only hope is an outdated defense lawyer who harbors a grudge of his own against the mechanized and dispassionate world of computers. That's
I love it. No, it's awesome. It's awesome.
That's the episode, basically in a nutshell.
We've got Jacob Einside in the chat as well, Nerdporeal, saying, hey, this is a great episode, Court Martial, so another fan there. So can I get your initial thoughts? Because I'm sure you've seen this quite a few times. You were telling me that you loved this as a young kid, so what do you think? Does it hold up?
Yeah, I saw this when I was in high school. This was one of the later episodes I saw from season one, and this was before. So I saw all the Star Trek episodes on DVD when the seasons came out in, I think, 2004 initially. But before that, I was collecting the VHSs. You have the VHS the very VHS of the tape that I owned, the court-martial, cover, and that was one of the later ones I owned when I was in high school. But even when I was I think I was 16 or 17, I was just like, wow, this is one of William Shatner's best performances as Kirk, and this is one of the best episodes early on that really featured the character building of Captain Kirk. I mean, this is a great character study. Now, the rest of the episode has its problems. We'll go into it. But like, just especially when Kirk is basically defending himself and sticking up for himself to Commodore Stone, who is also Commodore Stone is Percy Rodriguez is excellent in that role. And this was during a time when you could cast a character of a different race, and you didn't say anything about it. You didn't say it. It was just a great character. And that's why I feel, especially Percy Rodriguez's performance, he's really good at playing authority figures. And he was great as Commodore Stone. He was in a whole bunch of other shows in the 60s. So it's a shame he wasn't as big as, like, he wasn't a big, didn't, go into movies and all that. I think he has a great presence.
He does have a great presence. What you're saying is this is back in 1966 or 67. This comes out. I watched this, and as you say, you've got representation, as I keep going about today. 60 years ago almost. Over 50 years ago.
It's going to be 60 years in a few years, so yeah.
A black character in there who's really got a great presence, a powerful actor. You have an Asian ensign in there as well. It was great to see her. I was like, no way, Asian representation.
Yeah. I was actually, what's funny was because of his performance, and then you had the actor, the Don Marshall that played Boma in the Galileo 7, which is another one I do want to cover, which is a very Spock-centric episode. Okay. I was a little disappointed in Richard Daystrom, and even though the character Richard Daystrom is very significant in the franchise as a whole, like you always hear about the Daystrom Institute or in Picard season 3, Daystrom Station, which never existed before. But like, I mean, I like the actor that played Daystrom. I just didn't think I didn't think his performance in that episode was strong, in my opinion, compared to, like, once again, Don Marshall and Percy Rodriguez here. So
we were talking before we went live, Nerdporeal, like, there's a great opening scene here. You get a shot of this awesome star base. Is it a moon base or something? Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Well, this was meant to be a bottle episode initially. Then they changed their mind. They wanted to make this an action adventure episode, and then they're like, no, we're going to make this a bottle episode again. So they wanted to. The guy that wrote this, his name is Don Mankiewicz, and Don Mankiewicz, it came from a family of writers. His dad was one of the co-writers of Citizen Kane, who won the award with won the award with Orson Welles and all that. So Don Mankiewicz was pretty well known name, and he came up with this idea of doing like a court episode in space. On a starbase, and that's why the starbase existed. What's funny is this is Starbase 11. This is the same starbase that's also in the Menagerie. Even though when you look at the Menagerie Part 1, the starbase looks totally different, and instead of having Commodore Stone, you have Commodore Mendez, played by Malachi Throne. If you don't know Malachi Throne, he also played Pardek in the Unification two-parter and TNG, the one that features Spock. Leonard Nimoy. So I mean, they're well known, but yeah, like here they actually didn't do anything with the I forget the name of the company that they farm out all the optics work to, but they had them make this matte painting. This was like the big job for them. So, and this is a beautiful. I mean, the matte painting, original matte painting is beautiful, and I love how this shot right here in the new version, in the remastered version, is very faithful to it. You also get those little ships in the background, I think shuttlecraft or something. It's really cool.
Yeah, it was great to see them moving, as you say. It doesn't look as good on the screen capture, but yeah, these little ships in the background. It's like, okay, someone's come back and they've put care and love into this. They've made it look really good. So let's have a look. Who do we meet? We meet first. So this is the character you're talking about. He's a great performance by the actor. I can't remember his name.
Percy Rodriguez.
Percy Rodriguez,
He is Commodore Stone. He's the first Commodore. He's the first character to outrank Kirk in Star Trek, I think. Wow. Well, I maybe not era-wise, but production order-wise. Like when they were writing the scripts and started production, he was actually the first. This was technically the first time they ever brought up Starfleet in this.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
And you hear Vulcanian quite a bit too. Like instead of Vulcan and Vulcan,
I noticed that.
They call Spock a Vulcanian.
Vulcanian.
Yeah.
Does he live in a volcano?
Exactly. Like just like why? So here, so they just get out of an ion storm, and the Enterprise goes there for repairs. It's unscheduled, and what's funny is because of the importance of the Enterprise, and that's something that I think maybe I like how like I might have overlooked that little detail, but this episode really establishes how important the Enterprise is to the Starfleet because like they moved other ships, despite the fact this was unscheduled, but they moved other ships out so that the Enterprise would get first priority repairs and all that. So they went through an ion storm and they lost the man. What happened with the man? Well, apparently when they went through an ion storm, they were taking readings, they were taking data, and ultimately it got to a point where it got so dangerous that they went from yellow alert, which is basically just shields, and it's not the most alert, it's not the highest alert. Yellow alert is basically the ship is in a state of caution, so the shields are up and all that. But red alert is basically when all the shields are up, the weapon systems are on, and especially when it gets to a case where the ship gets damaged and systems go offline, then they have to go to red alerts in order to do that.
Yeah.
So
sure.
So in this case, he's giving report to Commodore Stone right here because you know computers and it's documentation. You have to talk. You have to. I mean, if they're going to do all this work for you, you have to provide documentation on what the hell happened. So in this case, Kirk gives him a report, a written report, and then they're waiting for the ship's extract to verify this information. So he tells Commodore Stone here that. With the man lost, like the man, the records officer was sent to a pod. I don't know the purpose of the pod, but he was sent to a pod because he was part of the duty roster, and they had to eject the pod when things got so dangerous or something. And he states he did this after doing the red alert, and he gave the officer time to get away, but he was lost. Well, apparently they're waiting on Spock. I mean, here he's double checking. He wants to make sure that the report is right because Kirk is a good guy. He's a good dude. He's a good leader, and he cares about the fact that he lost a man, just like Captain Horatio
For
Hornblower.
sure, yeah.
So
Nerdporeal, just thinking, G was talking about the ion pod. Of course, it's for taking sensor readings. I think when you were talking about, well, even saying the word pod, I'm sure that salty traveling seas ears pricked up at that. It's like, oh, pod. 60 years before they were predicting, where they want to put us all in the future. But anyway, let's get on with the story. It's a bizarre concept, but apparently they can't take sensor readings without putting a man in the pod. Says DJ Ronnie G.
Yeah, it was originally. I think they called it like a called it like a craft or something. I'm trying to see if I can find it here. But yeah, like just like what ultimately happens is Spock is taking his time with finding the with bringing the computer thing down, and as he comes down, all of a sudden there's this girl who says, "You killed my father." I'm like, that's not true. He was your friend. He's your friend. You hated you. You hated him. And then they say murder, and then the music plays. The music plays. I laughed.
On that note, the music is so dramatic in this. It keeps dropping in, doesn't it? We get this like it's almost like dun dun dun.
Yes. It was basically So it was just like they reused some Fred Steiner music, but they also played like an unreleased. I think Jeremy or Joseph Mullendorf track that they didn't fit into the episode Conscience of the King. Conscience of the King is the one with the Caridian company, the fictional Shakespearean company.
Shakespeare, yeah. Shout out to Gilkman in the chat. Great to see you, mate. Thanks for dropping in.
Good to see you, man.
Zach,
I actually met the Gilk man.
You did, right? Is it one of the meetups you went to?
One of the meetups.
Oh, okay. That's cool. So it's your pulling power, Nerdporeal, that has brought him in, I'm sure. So yeah, speaking about this actress here, the one who plays the daughter, supposedly young woman, young girl, but I don't know, I couldn't really take her seriously. If she wasn't it wasn't a great performance, was it?
You killed my father. That was the delivery. I watched it. I laughed. I showed friends this episode. They laughed too. originally in the script, it was originally supposed to be Finney's father, who was really trying to, have Kirk, have the book thrown at Kirk and all that. So
Right.
originally, so they replaced the father idea, Ben Finney's father, with Ben Finney's daughter, and they're just like, this doesn't make sense. Like, how old is Captain Kirk? Like, you had Robert Justman saying, like, how old is Captain Kirk? Like, Captain Kirk is supposed to be 34, and she looks like she's 16, 17. And he was supposed to be in Star. He meets Ben Finney. Ben Finney is is an instructor at the academy, and while he was a midshipman, so I mean, they didn't kind of think about how old he was. I'm guessing the thing is, they put this together really like this episode was considered a disaster for the production. They're like, what they said at the end of the production when everything wrapped, like, finally. They're like, finally we got it finished. Yeah,
Speaking
like, they
of
all
midshipmen,
hated it.
shout out to Roman. Roman's in the chat. Roman of the Empire, great to see you, mate. Thank you for dropping in. Dwayne saying, my friend burned me a CD of all the Star Trek music.
Wow. Oh, I wish I had. I wish I had that when back in the day. I love the fact if you I mean, I don't know if they still sell it, but if you want to buy the score to Star Trek, it's on go to La La Land Records and everything,
Okay.
and that's where you can buy it. It's expensive though. It's like you have to be an Uber fan of
Roman's
Trek
taking
too.
no prisoners, Nerdporeal. They should have beamed her into space. Oh dear.
I'm glad she was only in a few scenes. And what's even weird about her character is, for no reason later on, she's just like, I'll forgive it, but like after, like, there's no real reason why she's all of a sudden nice to Kirk. She feels bad. She's like,
yeah,
I didn't.
Yeah,
I did. She's like, I didn't mean it. I was like, okay. This really didn't. There was nothing building up to it, but I guess based on their history in the episode, that's why she had that shift in attitude or something. I'm just going to assume here, she just lost her father. And what's even weirder is, how does she happen to be on the base?
It's not explained.
So here's the thing. So she happens to be on the base. Ariel Shaw, Kirk's old love, just happens to be on the base. Now, Ariel Shaw was originally a dude. Ariel Shaw was supposed to be another character. Prosecutor Shaw, not a real Shaw, just Prosecutor Shaw. And she was originally a dude.
No way.
So they changed.
Again, predicting the future.
Yep. So they changed it to make her more interesting, I guess, to make her one of Kirk's old lovers. I love McCoy's line. He's just like, he goes up to her and talks to her. He's like, I guess that's how you pick up. That's how all you gotta do is look at a woman, look at another dude, and that's how you pick up. That's how you pick up a woman. McCoy goes up after. If you're wondering, that is Captain Kirk, and she's like, yes, I'm an old friend. And McCoy's like, all my old friends look like doctors. All of his look like you. All of his look like you.
It's a great line. There are some cracking lines in here as well.
And DeForest, they basically did one take for DeForest, and it was terrible. Like he was just like he was really nervous to be acting around her, and especially with the director that they had. They had Mark Daniels directing it, and they're just like, yeah, they're like, cut, book, we're done.
Just let me bring back to an earlier scene where I love this scene here where we see them, Kirk and Dr. McCoy. They walk into the bar and just look at them both. They're checking out the ensign there, the waitress maybe. They're checking her out.
Oh, they are. That's true. That's true. And what's funny was they were both married. I don't think DeForest had any kids. William Shatner already had like 2 daughters at this point. And he, like, I'll be honest, like, he was going through some stuff during this time. Like, he was, because he's the star of the show, he has to work 12 hours every day, especially with filming.
Wow.
So what would happen is he would be on set. He'd deliver his lines, and then he'd flee. He'd leave the set, go to his like little studio, and just like, I don't know, cope or something, or practice his lines or everything or something. And that's what happened with some of the actors, like some of the secondary actors. So but it has nothing to do with this. But Yeah, Kirk's marriage was falling apart at this point. By the time the show concluded in '69, I think he was divorced already.
In real life, yeah, William Shatner.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. Oh.
Yeah, he had to. Yeah, and the wife took him for everything, I think, and he had to live. He had to live in a trailer or something in the '70s, and he was struggling for work because he got typecasted. And that's the one thing that all these actors didn't want to get was typecast, and he got typecast. DeForest Kelly got typecasted. It was nuts.
That used to drive Leonard Nimoy crazy, didn't it? You know, he was like he wanted to escape the role of Spock for a long time until I think he finally accepted it. You know, it's awesome. It's a great role to have had.
Yeah, because he wrote that book in the '70s, which I still haven't read yet. And as a Trek fan, it's a shame to admit, but I have not read I Am Not Spock.
That was his Spock.
And then years later, I don't know if it was the '90s or 2000s, then he writes another autobiography saying, I am Spock. So just...
I remember, this is a bit of a tangent, but years ago there was a puppet, a satirical puppet show called Spitting Image in the UK, and they used to have, Spock on it, Leonard Nimoy playing Spock with lines like, he's trying to do serious acting, to be or not to, beam me up, Scotty. Oh no, I've done it again. Things like that. I just remember it. It was cool. Yeah.
I have to watch that. So you have to find it. What was it called again?
Spitting Image. There's also another one where it's like, to be or not to be, that is illogical, Captain. Oh no, I've done it again. Like, he keeps like slipping into his role, slipping into the line. So,
oh no,
yeah. Anyway,
this was '70s. Okay,
I think it was like mid '80s, and it was when you used to be able to mock the government and mock like culture without getting cancelled. Like, remember those days, Nerdporeal? I do. Where are we? Salty. I endure a full watch of the second Doctor Who special with Jed. Oh my god, I can only endure so much crap in one day. I'm impressed, Salty, that you went back for more, but I've heard that the second Doctor Who is not as bad as the first special. Just saying.
Speaking of Doctor Who, I watched it last night for the first time in a long time. You know what story I watched, Gray?
Which one did you watch? No.
I watched Terror of the Autons. John Pertwee, season 2 of John Pertwee, which is actually season 9, I think. And who made his first appearance in that story? The Master. Yes, Master. I called to say goodbye, Doctor, and then all of a sudden the plastic phone is wrapping itself around him. He's like, and then that's how the episode ends.
Like Doctor Who. That's awesome that you were watching Pertwee. You'll make a lot of people happy in the chat, especially Salty, I think. Yeah, John Pertwee.
I've only seen a handful. I mean, I'm not the biggest Doctor Who fan. I've seen it before, but I actually bought the Blu-ray because they're starting to come out with Blu-rays here in the United States, and I bought season 2. All the ones I remember the most were all the Master ones, and this season 2 of John Pertwee was all Master, all Roger Delgado. It's a shame that he died so young.
He was the best Master, the original and the best.
And that's why I think that's why Pertwee left. I know we're talking about Doctor Who on a Star Trek screen.
I want to bring you back to this character. He's probably my favorite character in this episode. And look at this awesome scene set on a spaceship, middle of deep space with the computers. You've got all these books he's brought with him.
Yeah, he's like, I'm moving in. He's like, yeah,
this is Kirk's quarters, isn't it? This is Kirk's quarters. He's like set up all these books.
So here's the other issue. So all of a sudden they have a lawyer there, just there, immediately available for Kirk. That's the other issue with this episode that they have. But Kirk's like, you are either an obsessive crackpot who escaped from his keeper, or you're Samuel T. Cogley, attorney at law. He's like, you're right on both counts, and that's Elisha Cook Jr. He's in a whole bunch of roles. Like he was probably a guest on every show. He's been around since the 30s, I think, maybe even the 20s. But he was in the movie I remember him was. You ever see the Maltese Falcon? Humphrey Bogart as Sam Spade.
Yeah,
he was one of Sidney Greenstreet's goons. He was like the third goon after him and Peter Lorre. So yeah, he was just a tough dude. He was the silent tough dude. That was him.
I was a bit worried about him when he was being Kirk's lawyer, his representative, wasn't he? Because he was like, "Okay, you're a witness. Do you want to cross-examine the witness?"
No questions.
No questions. No, every time it was no questions, Your Honor.
Yeah, what's funny is in this, because he was doing so many roles at this point, he forgot all of his lines. Like they had to do take after take after take.
Oh, really?
Just for every single, because he kept forgetting his lines. like in the like there's if you watch the bloopers, he's like blah, 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 like that, and just yeah. And Salty's complaining about ads.
I know. I've got it on the lowest setting, Salty. Don't blame me. Blame YouTube. Come on. I've got to get my 2.5 cents from from the streams I do. Oh, dear. Cool character and very funny to see and satisfying as well to see all those books in space.
It's funny that he brings up books and the stuff on the computer, because I used the Kindle to read up on the history of this episode, and he goes off into a thing saying, "Oh, books, young man, books," and he brings up the Code of Hammurabi, he brings up Moses, he brings up the Magna Carta, the Declaration of Independence, Constitution, and they're like, well, these weren't written as books or as a codex as it's called, back in the day. It's just, I mean, I guess, if you're old fashioned, you want to read books, go ahead. But I mean, unless it gets screwed with, and even older books got screwed with when it comes to, translating, retranslating, or recopying and all that. I don't know. I'm fine. It takes up less space.
I like both, but yeah, me too. Especially for traveling overseas, it's great to have that. Okay, let's talk about this one. First of all, point out these awesome dress uniforms here with a little. It looks like almost like dice, D&D, 20 dice size on it. What is going on with their costumes?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I guess they wanted to make them all different colors, but the command would be the gentleman on Percy Rodriguez's right, or his left. The gentleman with the green. That's actually the command. Command is green or yellow. Red is usually engineering or security, and blue is generally science or medical. So, but these guys are all captains, except for Commodore Stone. The rest of these guys are captains. So why are they? Why is the Commodore? I guess because he's a Commodore, he wears red, even though this predates TNG, because TNG was really where the red became command and all that, its own thing. But why is this guy wearing blue? Like captains, all the captains were yellow or greenish yellow or something. So I don't know.
Roman in the chat was saying that the blue admiral is fit as F. Look at that. He does look very fit, looking good.
Yeah, he does. All these were like, these outfits were tiny. Like, you had to be super fit to fit in them. So every time you listen to William Shatner talking about, a typical workday, he said the worst part of the workday was after lunch.
Oh, okay, because of
the costume. Because of the costume. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Just let me shout out in the chat. Fear Monarch is here. Great to see you, mate. Just popping in while I wait for this theatre to start. Godzilla -1. Oh, you're going to see it. Brilliant.
I gotta see. I've heard nothing but good things about Godzilla.
I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. It blew me away.
I might go see it right afterwards. I don't know. I have to think about that. I got some more reading I gotta do. That's the thing for tomorrow. So. But yeah.
Okay, you're catching up. You're catching up on your reading. I understand that very well. So what you're saying, that because not everybody had a colour TV in the mid-60s, which is very true, this was for the black and white TV watchers, to make them, I guess, to differentiate them. They had the stronger colours. I don't know. Admiral McCoy did inspect the Enterprise D medical facilities in Encounter at Farpoint. Okay, thanks, DJ.
That's true.
Interesting.
That's true.
And no beer bellies Nerdporeal in Star Trek, says.
Nope. You gotta be fit. You gotta be fit in Starfleet. There's a Voyager episode called Learning Curve where these Maquis were not fitting in with the rest of the crew. They were starting fights, and Tuvok has them go through like a little training thing, teamwork building, and they have to run up Jeffries tubes across all the decks. And it was just like, it was brutal. it was brutal. Yeah.
Good
and I mean, that's Starfleet training. I mean, you are the best of the best. You gotta be fit as hell.
You have to be the best of the best, unless you're in Star Trek Discovery. But we won't talk about that here. Okay, look at this. We got Spock. He's being cross-examined by the rather sexy cross-examiner there. I love the way they put the hands on this strange little light, this white light.
I like the sound. What? I like the sound that they came up with too. Just something like that. And yeah, so it's like, so yeah, I liked how, like, so here Kirk already says he's not guilty. That's his verdict. And now
Yes.
we find out Ariel Shaw is, is the prosecution. She's got to, beat his ass down hard because that's her duty. And this, I love what Spock says here. Now, whether or not it makes sense. Oh, by the way, apparently, I don't know if I brought this up, but apparently, I thought you couldn't do this because of, maybe conflict of interest or something. But apparently, you can be ordered to prosecute someone or like someone, a friend,
Right.
or
That's right. Yeah, yeah. They talk about this, don't they? They ask Kirk, "Are you okay with her being, the prosecutor?" Because they don't say, but they know about the history. He's got history with her,
and the
he's
same
"Yes, it's
and the
fine."
same with the council. The thing is,
Yeah.
the thing I was reading about is that, and maybe Roman can corroborate this further, but because Commodore Stone is the one basically accusing Kirk of culpable negligence and willful perjury. He can't be he can't be a judge and be the
Okay.
accuser at the same time.
Interesting.
I wonder if they hated their dress uniforms as much as I hated mine. Well, there was an episode where McCoy, it was Journey to Babel. There's the episode where McCoy learns how to do this from season 2, and he tries this, he can't do it, and he's like, "This hurts worse than the uniform," because they're wearing the dress uniform because Sarek is coming on board. But that's a later episode. That's an episode for another stream. So.
But I love the scene where Spock is being cross-examined. You were going to talk about some of the quotes. There are a couple of classic quotes, some great Spock moments, aren't there, with this?
Yeah, he basically says, he just says it's impossible he literally says, because they're asking him about the computer, and he's like, yeah, I know all about computers. He's like, the computers usually are malfunction. He's like, there's no hint of malfunction, but the computer's inaccurate because of, he says it's impossible for Kirk to do what he did because, he compares Kirk, like inanimate objects. Kirk has, characteristics, and one of those characteristics is not acting out of panic or malice and everything. And so he says it's just like I don't need to tell you that a tree is going to fall to be there to tell you a tree falls when a tree falls or something. I think that's how he put it. So, but she's like, in your opinion. And he's like, yeah, in my opinion.
Yeah, he has to admit to it being his opinion. There was a line as well earlier on, I think, where it's McCoy and Spock, and it's the classic one. It's a very famous one. "Mr. Spock, you're the most cold-blooded man I've ever known." Why?
Thank you, Doctor. Yeah. So what ultimately happens? So the history behind this, and we actually learn about this prior to the trial itself. So apparently, Finney and Kirk served on board the same ship. They were both, up for promotion and all that. And Finney, basically, if I remember correctly, Finney was on duty, and he was supposed to close a circuit. And he did not close the circuit when he logged in that he did. And Kirk caught this, closed the circuit, and then logged the error and logged, who was responsible for it. And because of that, Ben Finney got reprimanded, and he got sent to the bottom of the promotion list. And so all of his dreams of becoming, captain of a starship died with that. So they're basically the prosecution here is using that moment or that idea as motivation for Kirk to to begrudgingly kill Ben Finney, or to make that mistake to kill Ben Finney and all that. So
right.
And that's basically why Kirk's on trial, because that's what the computer shows. The computer shows him hitting, and she shows a video of this. So he hits the jettison button of the pod that Finney's on before going to red alert, when he said that he hit the jettison pod after going red alert and giving him time to get away, to get out of there. And so that's basically what this trial is all about. And what's great is earlier Commodore Stone literally offers Kirk a way out. Like, he's like, I don't want a captain. A captain's never been court-martialed before for something like this. Think about the service. think about what's going to happen if think about the perception that's going to happen, the optics. If a starship captain is put on trial, and Kirk is like this is Kirk's most based episode. Like Shatner as Kirk is based in this. He's like, well, if what you suspect is true, I should be punished. He's like, then you draw a general court. He's like, I demand it. And I like that later in the episode, he actually comes to regret saying that because the odds are all against him, as we'll see here. So
cool, very good. Good to get your depth of knowledge on this as well. It was good to see, as I say, I mentioned earlier, a bit of Asian representation, but she wasn't meant to be in this part. You were telling me.
I don't think they ever. Yeah, I don't think they ever gave her this. I don't think they ever gave this the character a name. They just call her. She's the personnel. All they call her is she's a yeoman. She's the person. I don't even know if she's a yeoman, but she's a personnel officer. And this was originally supposed to be something that Yeoman Rand would do. So Yeoman Rand was in the earlier versions of the script, but then they cut her. They cut her because they just felt so like all the McCoy stuff and all the stuff with McCoy being on the planet with him and Yeoman delivering the computer stuff to Kirk was originally Yeoman Rand, not Spock and McCoy. So they moved stuff. First it was Yeoman Rand, and then they had McCoy giving Kirk the computer stuff that Commodore Stone took, but then they gave it to Spock because Spock is the one that knows about computers. So.
Okay, let's show the villain of the piece. It's a cool performance by him. A little bit of a crazed performance, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't see him till the very end.
No, we don't. Right near the end. There's a crazy fight scene, which is I thought it was so much fun watching it because you could see each time they changed to the stuntman and then William Shatner and the stuntman and this this actor. It was so obvious, wasn't it?
Stuntman was way too obvious. Like, oh my gosh, we see more of the stuntman than we see of the actors themselves here.
We do. Yeah.
Well, this was I mean the only fight that I think it surpassed this is the one with Khan, where they did a crazy thing where Kirk is holding on to the grating, where the warp core is, and he does a Mel Gibson, with both his feet around Khan's neck, and then he drops and he does like a double. I don't even know what to call that move. But that's the only time you ever see that, and that was in Space Seed. But you see, so
I loved it too. I loved it, Roman. Yeah, me too.
And Kirk gets his shirt ripped too.
I actually saw that happen. It was a stuntman at the time. You see it rip. Maybe it's here. He gets ripped, but then they love showing William Shatner's chest, don't they? I mean, he does have a nice chest, but he's very smooth. Yeah, it was so cool to see that. But did this feel like it was kind of tacked on, or was it maybe not in the original story? Because they say it happens right at the end.
It originally in the script, so here's the funny thing. The original version of the script had more. There was more. I wouldn't say there was more going on. So originally, Finney didn't hide on the ship. So in the episode, we find out that Kirk instituted a Phase 1 search to look for Finney. And because of the fact that Kirk made a comment, so Kirk was already what do you call it, where someone is ready to face their destiny, or someone that they've given up all hope. I forget what you call it. I can't think of
resigned.
It. Resigned
to their destiny, to their
so
fate.
He's resigned to losing his career, and I loved how I loved how He's like, you know what? Spock's like, is there any further instruction? He's like, no, maybe you'll beat your next captain at chess. And then Spock's like, chess. And then of course McCoy's like, I had to see it to believe it. He's like, you're playing chess while the captain's professional head's being cut off.
Yeah,
like you're the most cold-blooded, and that's where he says, you're the most cold-blooded person I've ever met. Thank you, Doctor. And he's like, yeah, I thank you, Doctor. I've won my 4th game. What? How do you win your 4th game? That's impossible. It's true. I programmed it myself to be unbeatable. And that's basically where they find out that, that's where they get the idea that only a few people can modify the memory banks like that. I think it was memory banks. I don't remember. but they screwed with the only people that could screw with the computer like that is Kirk, Spock, and the records officer. But you have no records officer. I did, Lieutenant Commander Finney. So originally Finney wasn't the bad guy. Originally the computer was the bad guy. The computer had a grudge against Kirk. And the computer itself changed the information, changed the transcript to get Kirk in trouble.
Right,
so,
that's right. It was so weird. I couldn't kind of wrap my head around that.
Yeah, so but the same thing happened. So Finney was on this pod or whatever they called it, this boat, lifeboat or something, and he gets jettisoned. But the thing is, he gets jettisoned and he gets sent to this asteroid. They don't know if he's alive. They assume he's not. But what's funny is Samuel T. Cogley, the lawyer. So in the original script, it was Cogley and Cogley. It was Cogley Sr. and Cogley Jr. And then so Cogley Jr. was the one that liked to handle the computers, and Cogley Sr. was the one with all the books and all that. So there was a little bit of tension there. So but apparently Cogley Sr. had like a little jalopy craft that they used to go to this asteroid to rescue Finney and everything. And like I said, Finney didn't have a daughter. Finney had a father that just wanted to nail Kirk to the wall and everything. So that the reason why they cut that was because they would have to build the jalopy. They'd have to build the ship, and then they'd have to build the interior of it, and going to a planet, building a soundstage or an asteroid would just cost them a lot of money and everything. So they're like, no, we're not doing this. We're going to keep this on the ship or on the starbase as much as possible. And that's why they made all these decisions. And so right
about
here,
this scene here, this is what Roman was mentioning, that the heartbeat reduction was nuts. It was so strange. The scene to prove that he's alive, that Finney's alive and he's on the ship, don't they? How did they go about this, Nerdporeal? Can you describe it?
Yeah, so apparently they have the ability to register everybody's heartbeats in a single boom, 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 in a single thing. And so they waste time here by removing everybody's. So they beam everybody off for no reason. They beam I guess they had to, but they didn't really have to. But they beam everybody else off, and they use They use a microphone because they couldn't afford to make a prop. They use a microphone. Just all McCoy has to do is twist it, and he just puts it by the person's like, and that's how we filter out the heartbeat. Why not just filter out everybody's heartbeat on the bridge and then leave it to engineering, or because that's where they believe he is. So they didn't really have to do. They didn't really have to do that. And there's other issues too. But why? Like Kirk is on trial. Why is Kirk have to go and fight the guy? They needed a fight. They needed the fight.
At the end. They wanted the fight, as you say.
I mean, maybe this was before they came up with the idea of flooding decks with, anesthetizing gas, because that's what they did in Space Seed. I mean, they flooded in the briefing room with Khan holding the crew. They flooded that that deck with gas. That was the only time you ever see that in the original series. So.
Okay. I did like the fight scene at the end. I say in the engineering section, the way they shot it was very clever. They made it seem larger, the space that it was. We had like Kirk exploring around, going in between these two and what they were. You know what I mean? Down this little narrow alleyway, and then he comes back around again. He's back in the main room, and the fight scene. It was just, oh man, it was so cool. It was so hilarious.
Yeah, they built that for The Enemy Within. Watch our stream when we covered The Enemy Within. But that's what they did. They showed something similar in that episode. So apparently, Cogley leaves the ship. So Cogley leaves the ship saying, I have something important to do on the planet surface that is, with relevance to this court, and I'll come back. The problem is we never see him come back. So he's supposed to bring Jamie aboard to talk to her father to get him to stop what he's doing. Because he's not only is he hiding, but he's about to blow up the ship, or he's about to destroy the ship. Keeping them from being able to orbit. They're eventually the orbit's gonna decay, and they're gonna go into the atmosphere, and they're gonna die. So, but what so the thing is, I think it was for time. They cut it to have Kirk just deliver a dialogue, so it was tell don't show instead of show don't tell, because they filmed the scene with Jamie talking to her, trying to convince her father, but they couldn't do it for time, I believe. And as a Trek fan, I wanted to see. I would rather seen that than them saying that and all that. So, but yeah, we get to see Kirk climb a Jeffries tube with a bare shoulder. You know, I mean, okay,
yeah.
What can I say? Shatner's a sexy dude back then. You know,
bit of chest, showing again.
Yeah.
That's cool. DJ Ronnie G saying he reminds me that I just ran out of razor blades. I haven't shaved either yet this morning. Yeah, he's got realtor. How do you say that? Realtor. Eyes. Ooh.
Was he selling you a crappy home?
Sounds like it.
At the negotiating table.
The Jeffries tube is indeed a very cool prop used from different camera angles, and the angle in this was very good the way they did it. I wish I'd got a photo of it, but I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, we saw that in Naked Time. Another episode we covered with Scotty trying to basically, he's putting devices there to open the door to engineering. And all that. So, but yeah, that's a great shot. I love that shot. A reel. So everybody's saved. The ship is saved, and apparently Cogley is now Cogley's basically defending Ben Finney for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to win. I'm like, I don't know. He just tried to blow up the ship. I don't know how he's going to win, but hey, we wanted to feel good at the end of the episode without thinking.
Have to have a happy ending, don't we? There was a quote as well that does he give it to Spock or to Dr. McCoy? Jim Kirk says after this kiss. I can't remember what he says. It's like, oh yeah, she's a very good lawyer or something like that. There was some line.
I don't remember. Probably Spock.
I think it's on that wiki that you were talking about. I'm just showing the photo at the moment. So
he says it to both of them. She's a very good lawyer. Kirk says. Spock says, obviously, and McCoy's like, indeed she is, and that's it.
Indeed she is. Oh, good. Yeah, cool.
But yeah,
great talking about it.
But the Kirk stuff, like all the Kirk stuff, the Shatner's acting was the best part of this episode. I mean, like, right? So like Kirk's. So I got some quotes right here. So this is Kirk. So that's the way we do it now. Sweep this whole thing under the rug and me along with it. Now in your life, I intend to fight. Then you draw a general court. Draw it. I demand it. And right now, Commodore Stone. Right now, I demand it. Oh, that was great. And then of course there was the Kirk's little. I think Kirk's little monologue when he was being questioned by Cogley. He's just like, I've taken the proper steps and the steps that they needed to be taken when they needed to be taken. And, I would do it again if need be. And because that's to defend my ship, and nothing is more important than my ship. So, yeah, I thought that all the stuff learning about Kirk, all the Kirk stuff was the best in this. I think the other stuff, not 100%. Not so much. I think that was maybe when I was telling you we should cover this episode, I was still looking at it with rose-tinted glasses, so I ruined my own childhood by reading up on the production of this. Episode.
It was a good call. It was a good choice. As you say, I agree 100%. I thought William Shatner was really good in this. Good to get a bit of his background, a bit more of his story. I like Spock in this. Spock was more, like the Spock we know. It's just been checking on the normal wiki, and it says that in 2019 Nerdist included this episode on their Best of Kirk binge watching guide. So one of the Best of Kirk episodes.
I actually totally agree with that. So but yeah, just like the one thing that I thought about, that that great speech by Cogley when he talks about like when they find so Cogley's basically like, we're done. There's nothing else we can do. The defense rests, basically. And then all of a sudden Spock comes in, finding out about the computer, finding out about sorry about that, that was my phone. Spock comes in with the news about the chess and about the computer and all that. And then all of a sudden Cogley goes into theatrics about the man versus the machine. His accuser is a machine, and his accuser was not shown and all that. And I mean, it sounds cool when you think about when you don't actually. It sounds cool when you don't think about it, but when you think about it, it's like having a defense lawyer saying that the DNA tester or whatever technology you use is the accuser and not the person.
That's it. It's a great speech where Cogley's saying, this is where the law is, not in that homogenized, pasteurized, synthesized. Do you want to know the law? The ancient concepts in their own language? Learn
Yes.
the intent of the men who wrote them, from the Moses to the tribunal of Alpha 3.
It
Books.
sounds so cool, but it makes no sense. It makes no sense. But it sounds so cool. If you're a kid, you're like, yeah. You're like, wait, what? And so, yeah.
And it's a good delivery by the actor as well. He's good in it. So
yeah.
I
See,
thought
so the problem with this episode was that it was rewritten so many times. Like just things like it got completely rewritten. It got completely overhauled because of budget, because of some ideas that just didn't work out. So like all the dialogue was not done by the original, was not done by Mankiewicz. It was done by Stephen Karbatzis and Gene Kuhn, and those two guys were brought on board pretty much close to when this, was being when this was being written and all this. So, but this was just, and what's even funnier is I read the history on this once again. They did not get approval from NBC. So usually episodes would get sent for approval. They would usually send an outline to their contact, and they would usually would get feedback back. They did not tell them about it until like right before they right when they were going to start filming, and that really pissed off the network. It really pissed off Stan. I think his name was Stan Robertson. Yeah, Stan Robertson was their contact at NBC, and there was no communication between them. So as much as I say good things about the production, I mean, they made their mistakes. And this was one of those episodes that was just like, it was a nightmare for the peeps from start to finish.
Oh, that's a shame, isn't it? Because I think it turned out pretty well, considering all that background.
I still don't know why, but it took them months. Like, this is episode 15, production-wise, and episode 16, the following episode, was the Menagerie. The thing is, they filmed the Menagerie. It was a similar type of bottle episode, and they aired that in November of '66. They didn't air Court Martial until February of '67. So, and the thing is, they weren't waiting on optical effects. So I don't know why they took so long, because the post production was they actually spent a good deal of time, because they were trying to edit so many ideas. Like, a lot of the crap that we got was from bad editing and all that. So, but they were editing this. They were doing post from mid-October to like November of '66, but they still had a couple months. Like, what were they trying to do? Like, why did they wait till? Like, why didn't they release it in December or January? Why did they wait till February? I mean, this was not a. I still haven't. This didn't tell me. I was disappointed.
So, Nerdporeal, before we wrap things up, what would you suggest we do next? What's a good episode to follow this? I'd love to do a good, strong Spock episode. If you've got a recommendation, that'd be cool.
A good, strong Spock episode would probably be Galileo 7. That's the episode 14. That's the episode made before this.
Okay.
It's the one where where Spock leads a shuttlecraft mission to go and get data on this quasar-like phenomenon, Murasaki 312. And let's just say they get pulled. Yeah, they get pulled into the heart of this type of phenomenon, and they're stuck on a planet filled with 12-foot tall ape beast creatures that have these giant shields and spears that are going to murder everybody.
Oh my god!
And
awesome.
That's the episode with the other actor I talked about earlier. Don Marshall is Lieutenant Boma, another actor of a particular. I don't know how to say it without being sounding problematic. So everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Okay. We've got Roman in the chat asking, when are we going to do a deep dive of Star Trek, the motion picture? That would be awesome sometime. Maybe over the Christmas break, the winter break.
Maybe it's
That
up
could be
to,
good.
yeah. It's like, I don't know. It's up to Grayson.
And Nerdporeal, how about you? Do you want to shout something out before we finish? Have you got anything coming up? You're going to be doing a Wheel of Time reading stream, is it?
Yeah. Tomorrow we're doing Shadow Rising. We're going to be covering all the parent chapters. So me and Dane from the White Cloaks covered all the Rand stuff last time. We didn't even get to covering all the parent stuff. So we're going to cover the parent stuff, and there's a couple of Tanchico chapters. So I'm kind of spoiling this for Gray because Gray didn't get this far yet. Gray's still on Dragon Reborn, if I remember correctly, right?
I'm still stuck. I'm stuck on Dragon Reborn. Oh no! What the hell am I doing?
It's I'll be honest. Shadow Rising has been a rougher read for me, but then Wheel of Time in general has been kind of a rougher read for me. But it's getting more interesting. It's getting better, and I just haven't been in the reading mood as much. So, but
yeah,
so,
I'm the same.
So that's what. So I'm going to be covering that tomorrow. Chilporial. I had my latest Chilporial with Gadfly Fiction. We were talking about a whole bunch of things. We were talking about fantasy. We talked about Wheel of Time. We talked about Doctor Who. We talked about writing and history, and we talked about a whole bunch of things. So check out the Chilporials. I've made 24 episodes of Chilporial. I made one with Gray, Wakizashi's Tea House himself. Check that one out. And I think the one that got the most views was Prophet of the Dragon. So if you like Prophet of the Dragon, I know Roman doesn't like him because Roman and Prophet are frenemies. I think. I don't know. They're rivals.
Curse that dastardly Prophet of the Dragon and all his I don't know. No, I miss Steve. I've not seen him for a while. I hope he's good. I hope he's Genki. I hope he's not been broken by Wheel of Time Season 2 by Amazon.
Yeah, I mean send him some love. Definitely send him some love from
Okay, we'll do. Well, I really appreciate you giving me your time for this, Nerdporeal. It's been great. It's been a while since we did it. I love talking about Star Trek, and I really enjoyed watching this. I tell you, after watching a lot of the recent modern entertainment, shall we say, apart from Godzilla -1, which is amazing, you have to go and see it. I love watching old Star Trek. It just cheered me up. So thanks for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
Steve is the devil's. What, Roman? What are you saying there? On that happy note, should we wrap things up? Okay. Here we go. Just before I drop the closer, I'm going to drop something. Let's see if Nerdporeal can get this show. I bet he doesn't know what it is.
Buzz off. That truck gets everywhere.
No idea, right? It's a crazy old British claymation show, kids show from the 1980s called The Trapdoor. It's crazy. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so Nerdporeal, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. Thank you, chat. Thank you for anyone who's watched this far and on the replay. You are awesome. Shout out to my members, and always stay Nerdporeal.
thanks everybody.
I can't find the closer now. Here we go.